What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we're going to be analyzing the Costa versus Vettori card. Big 14 fight card going down this weekend from the Apex. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, one of the best bettors in MMA, Ozzy P. How you doing, my man?
Man, pretty busy right now. I've told you for a while I like betting on the NBA, and it started off really good on that as well. So looking at a bunch of different things, but yeah, did all right last week. Went down to Atlantic City for a little bit too, to put some stuff down, and back here for this fight night. That's right before we get into these pay-per-view events right after.
Yeah, last week's card, the main event, predictably terrible. We kind of, I think we did a good job. We didn't exactly, endorse Norma Dumont there, but we gave you guys a lot of reasons not to bet Aspen Ladd. And I think going back and listening, we did pretty well on that fight. And then we had some of our boys come through. Danny Roberts edged the split decision. Andre Arlovsky won that shit. Brandon Davis and Andrew Sanchez kind of let us down a little bit, especially Andrew Sanchez. But still a good week. I profited 3 units, 54% ROI. So it was a
It's
good
good,
week
man.
for me.
Hitting on Andre Arlovsky, I feel like those spots like that are, pretty, even though you could say, hey, coin flip fight, if you get that even money or a bit lower, you're gonna do solid. If you get spots like that where just clearly the better fighter or variance too. In how he approaches the fight, and you could always count on a fight like that from Andre Arlovsky against a much younger opponent.
Yeah, and Danny Roberts was just such an invigorating win. I love fights where your guy's getting taken down, he gets back up, and he's throwing strikes, and you're screaming at the TV for him to do more and to throw more. And Danny really did, have some good optics in that fight, and stole that split decision. Very close fight, but that's why we bet plus 275.
He did. He did all right. I mean, I just feel like that's like the kind of fight that he needs to do to win, and we ended up getting that fight. Uh, you know, in that iteration of it there. So
True, true. Different judges
no
could be a whole different
different
outcome, but
judges. Yeah, you could definitely, like you said, you could have a 30-27. You could have three judges that definitely see a 30-27 for a Meave, and you're like, upset about it as well on the other end. But it's probably, a judge could definitely see it like that as well. So it's a weird fight.
yep, and big card this week. We're back in the Apex for the last time before we go over to Fight Island next week. And 14 fights. We're gonna get into all 14 of
Oof,
them.
let's get into these
And
things. We gotta start knocking these down.
right, right. We'll try to keep it under like hour 20, hour 30 for y'all. And we're going to start things off. Late replacement fight, Bantamweight division. Lazishvili didn't really practice pronouncing his name, but he actually opened up as a pretty significant favorite. He's sitting at minus 137 right now to Jonathan Martinez plus 117. And you can start this one off. Ozzy, the Georgian guy making his UFC debut short notice. Were you
Yeah,
surprised to
yeah.
see that line?
So, um, uh, yes and
Opener
no.
open minus 195, I think.
Yes, a bit. I mean, if you recall, I don't know if we got official odds when he was fighting Jack Shore, but I'm pretty sure Jack Shore was a decent sized favorite over him. But I've known about let me does he have a nickname here?
I like
No, no,
Zviad.
he
His
has
first name's cool enough.
Zviad. All right, so Zviad, he should get a nickname, but Zviad, when he was in LFA, took down Ricky Steele pretty quickly there. You saw that he's, pretty strong wrestler. I think, could get on your hips, has solid jujitsu, is strong on top. And if you look back at his later tape, he has some, he'll be on the feet. He's probably not super comfortable there, but he's really trying to get this, fight to the ground basically, and take a hold of the fight from there. Martinez has been in the UFC, much longer, but guys consistently missed weight. Has been tied up before on some occasions, has shown some questionable fight IQ sometimes, and you know he's not that much of a proven quantity, but is pretty skilled everywhere. Is a good kickboxer. Has power in his hands. Trains at a good camp, and if he's coming in, ready for the fight, he's definitely shown a higher baseline than Zivied.
Ziviad.
Ziviad. And
That's what I'm
Ziviad
going with.
has. So, definitely I could see why the action came in his way. He trains at, Factory X, I believe, or
Yep.
whatever. And Ziviad trains at a much smaller gym in the Northeast. But I think this guy's solid. I've won on him in the past in that LFA fight. And if this, if I could get a submission, prop on him, I think I'd look at that before I bet the money line. So we'll see where the line goes, but I probably anticipate it coming down more, and Martinez probably closing pick 'em or the favorite.
Yeah, so I did some tape on Ziviad right before the line was released, and I was expecting a close line. I would have been interested in Ziviad as an underdog, but they opened him as a pretty hefty favorite. And I think the one fight of his against Huber kind of proves everything you need to see in this fight. And Ziviad caught a knee and a kick in that fight, turned both of them into takedowns. And I saw really good things from the guy's top control there. I saw him get that one hook in against the cage. No need to get a back take. No need to go for any crazy submissions or anything. He just will ride you against the fence. He'll hold your wrist, land good ground and pound. I saw him, dragging his opponents back down to the floor, landing good strikes. And we also saw him struggle on the feet in that fight, though. In round three, he struggled with the southpaw striking of Huber, was getting outboxed from that southpaw stance. So you kind of realize that Martinez is going to have success striking here. And you got to think that Ziviad might have success catching some of those kicks and knees that Martinez likes to throw, turning them into takedowns, and getting his top game going. And I think there are a little bit of questions around Lajashvili with his layoff. Hasn't fought in a year. Very short notice. This is only about a week's notice. But the guy was training for fights. He was supposed to fight Shore. I think he's going to be in good shape. On his Instagram, there's a lot of videos of him training at his gym. You did mention smaller gym, KZ and MMA. No real notable MMA fighters fighting out of there. But I think the guy.
Kaizen, Kaizen.
He's, oh yeah, there you go. And I think I've seen good enough things from his top game to think that he can take Martinez down here and put him in bad spots. Based on Martinez in the Wuliji Buren fight, especially where Buren took him down in all three rounds of that fight. And you brought up something about Martinez missing weight. So he was supposed to fight Rojo. I believe he couldn't make weight for that fight. Yep, that was the reason. And then he fought Almeida at 145. He missed weight versus Signs by 4 pounds. And then he also lost to Andre Yulin the last time he made weight. So this guy hasn't won a bantamweight fight where he made weight in over 2 years. So I think there's enough questions around Martinez, his grappling credentials, that I would advise passing here. And, I did take a bet on Martinez at plus 158 just because I think that I think this is around 55 to 60% for Lajashvili. So I slightly favor Lajashvili. Interesting addition to the roster and a pretty fun fight to start off the card. Next fight is going to take us into the women's strawweight division where we have Lavina Souza as the slight favorite at minus 131, taking on Random Marcos plus 111. Random Marcos, only fighter in the UFC right now with a losing record, 4 fight losing streak. And, you know, I still think that she has a legitimate path to victory in this fight. I mean, Souza has had trouble getting taken down, getting put on her back. She spent time there versus Froda. She got taken down by Brianna Van Buren several times. And I think that Marcos has a wrestling path to victory here. And Souza just looked completely out of it in her last fight against
And
what's her
And
face?
so
Go ahead.
Souza versus Lemos, she didn't really know what to do there, and enter in really. And then in that Ashley Yoder fight, man, Ashley Yoder holds her up against the fence for long periods of time. Like, when they are striking, Souza does not really have accurate strikes of any kind that she lands. So, you look at her matchup with Ashley or with Randa Marcos, and if Branda brings the same intensity that she did in her last fight, with Pinheiro,
Pinheiro. Yeah.
Pinheiro, yeah. I think she should be able to get out early, on this. And Silva doesn't really have takedowns that she, solidifies well. Has a low athletic ceiling, I'd say. And then, Randa Marcos should be able to be more aggressive and like push her around a bit. So and Souza's takedowns aren't really good. The way she got the only reason she got on top of Yoder in one of the rounds is Yoder like fell off of her, and Marcos, she was getting tossed by Pinheiro. Those are some sweet judo throws. I want to see Pinheiro again. People hate on her for whatever happened there. I don't know what happened, but I want to see her fight again because she was judo throwing random Marcos all over the place. But Souza doesn't have. She can't do that. So I mean, I could see why people like Random Marcos. Is really difficult to want to invest put anything behind her like that. Only grow in the UFC with a losing record. But she probably was in that Pinheiro fight, could have won it. People are on her then. I think it's man, I don't want to do it, but probably have to.
Yeah, if you're considering putting any money on this fight, it has to be the plus money on
Oh
Marcos.
man.
I mean,
Sheesh.
Souza's two decision victory is extremely
Fuck.
marginal as well. Um,
All right,
Froda,
we
she
got
landed.
we got to move to the next fight,
Yeah,
man.
good
I think
idea, good idea,
I think that's it. Like
good idea. I'll
if
side
you're
with
gonna
Marcos. I'll side with her.
Marcos is plus money here, and if she's able to take Souza down, Souza hasn't really shown anything from her back, so like maybe she could go for like a heel hook and like Random Marcos could panic like against
Oh yeah, or
Mackenzie
armbar,
or
armbar
do
too.
something really dumb where but you know, if
Very
she's able,
possible.
she could
Um,
definitely tire her out, bang her up, and out cardio her too. So it's Random
I
Marcos.
hope Randa wins. I hope she wins. Um, Next
Get
fight,
get back to
flyweight division.
500.
Jeff Molina minus 160 on Bet Online. Daniel Lacerda making his UFC debut. I don't know where the hell they found this Lacerda guy, Ozzy.
Uh, Let me
But
tell you.
go ahead.
I'll tell you where. So Jeff Molina, coming here after that fight against Ayuri. What
Aori,
were they? Ayori, but yeah, Koichi Lang, whatever they were calling
whatever they
him.
were calling him on fucking the
Koichi, I
commentary.
think. I think
Yeah,
yes, but I'll go with Ayori.
Aori.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, I mean, Jeff Molina, he backs up a ton. I mean, he's like very, very similar. He tries to fight very similar to like James Krause without a lot of that physical ability like behind it, I would say. He's like that. He's like very methodical. He'll move around. He'll, pick his strikes, pretty well. And you saw that, how he used that in that fight there on that main card of the Mazadov and Usman fight, and he eventually was able to get a stoppage, but he just backs up so much. He lets the fight come to him, a bit too much. In that even in that contender series fight against Silva, I think, right, Jacob Silva, I believe. Um, he he gets pushed backwards. He's able to grapple a bit, but he's still a really young guy. And I think Lacerda here, Daniel, uh is able to come forward and get his game going more. And the only question is then what is his cardio itself, because he's had so many like first round finishes. But I think this guy's pretty slick on the ground. He finds, submissions, and he's a lot higher level, in the ground element than anyone that Jeff Molina has really faced. So I think he's going to be able to get some grappling going here, and probably catch Jeff Molina, and finish him. So I like him here as an underdog.
Extremely bizarre. I did not expect this from you at all. I think
Yeah, I like
Lacerda.
Jeff Molina. I like Jeff Molina, but I think his if you bring the fight to him, hard, he could get caught for sure easily,
I
bro.
don't
Like
think this guy's
he could get
bringing.
put if he gets put on his back, and it's gonna be easy. This guy, I'm telling you, if you try to wrestle with him, you could put him on his back. If you could put him on his back, he does not have a lot of polish on the ground.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But
If
the
the fight
grappling.
is gets to the ground at all, this he's I think Molina's in trouble because Lacerda is like a high variance guy on the ground, and he's only going for submissions if he gets you to the ground.
I've seen very bad top game from Lacerda. I've seen him
Yeah, but that's
fall off
because
the
he's
back.
just
I've
going
seen.
nuts, man. Because he's
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
kill you, and
but he's no
he'll
good.
very. But if he
He's
does
no good.
any, but he's gonna be able to get to those positions on Jeff Molina, I think.
I think here's the thing. So
Like, what do
we've
you what
seen we've
you
seen
think
three
is
three fights from Lacerda, right? There are three fights available online. They total 7 minutes. One, he's spinning back kicks, knocks a guy out, and then the other two are kind of these mediocre grappling wins, in my opinion. And he had, I think,
this
back
is how
takes.
all the Brazilians come in though. They always look shitty. They always look like they're beating up on bums, and then they end up being good.
No, that's not that's a stupid generalization. But look at this guy's record. I mean, he has never no record at all of him going past round one. He's fought in really low level competition. Um,
How
and
big of a favorite should Jeff Molina be then?
minus 200. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Um, so like the striking is going to be extremely one sided for
Let's see.
Molina, in my opinion. I've seen good enough takedown defense, especially in the Aori fight. I mean, he got taken down there, but uh,
No,
Aori looked a
Aori's
lot.
terrible. Aori
Uh,
just walked forward on him and
I mean,
had
he was
no
on his
ring
way to
craft at all.
he was on his way
You
to winning 2 rounds, though.
Yeah, but you're letting that cloud your vision just because he was the only one of that like UFC PI over there that did even decently. He still was getting his face punched in. He was just doing a lot of stuff like
Yeah, but like I
enthusiastically.
said,
But he was not
without
a
the
good fighter.
knockdown
He's not a good fighter.
without the knockdown in at the last 5 seconds of round 2, he was on his way to being up
That guy's good
20-18.
though. Is that guy good?
I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying that he did fine against the takedowns of Aori in that fight. And
This guy is way
continue to
better
build.
grappler than him,
No,
man.
no, he's not.
Then Iori, you
Lacerda's
don't
getting
think
knocked
so?
out in round 2 or 3. I
You don't think
would.
you don't think Aori is a better he's a
Bro,
better grappler than
there's 7
Iori?
there's no, I don't, dude. There's 7
Uh,
minutes of footage on this guy, and
Let's see.
there and the against 2. Okay, so he armbarred a 13-12 fighter, and he triangled a 4-2 fighter. Both of those fights, he fell off of top position and back takes. Lacerda's terrible. Um, Sorry for the motorcycle in the background, but Molina's knocking him out in rounds 2 and 3. I'm on Molina money line and the inside the distance here. I think inside the distance being plus money is pretty crazy here. I mean, with no proof that Lacerda has gone past 3 minutes, he's facing a high volume guy who builds as the fight goes. I'm pretty sure Molina's knocking this guy out in round 2 or 3. That's going to take us to the next fight, which is in the lightweight division, where we have Jai Herbert as the minus 183 favorite, comma worthy plus 158. And I'll try to keep this one short. I mean, I just don't think you can put much faith in a worthy at all at this point, considering the guy, his defense, his chin is so bad. I mean, the guys he just got knocked out to, I think Azaitar is terrible. I think he just wings punches and prays that they connect, and he was able to get Worthy out of there. And then one little left hook from Malarkey in the first 30 seconds of the fight sent Worthy face first down to the mat. I think this guy's chin is just too depleted. He might end up being like an Arosa where like his chin comes and goes. And some fights he looks good, some fights he looks, terrible and gets killed. But I think that the chance that Worthy gets knocked out in the first round here is so high that you're better off just passing on this pre-fight and looking to live bet Worthy. I think Herbert's the better striker. He's got some pretty good hands. He rocked Trinaldo. He hit Moicano with some good punches. And Worthy isn't going to be the guy to initiate a lot of grappling. The only way I think Worthy looks remotely good is if he offensively wrestles here, and he's just not reliable enough to do that. So I'll pick Herbert knockout round 1. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, Worthy has kind of like a weird janky style. Like it works for him sometimes, but in some of these fights, he's just getting hits, extremely cleanly, and like you said, has not shown the durability. So, I think any play on him is, forcing it a bunch, unless you're maybe going for like hoping for like an inside the distance on him. I think would be a better play because if he's not finishing Herbert, I think he's just gonna be too available to be hit over the course of the fight, and eventually Herbert's gonna finish him. But Herbert's fragile himself, so tough for me to be real confident in Herbert. Um, but I definitely couldn't bet Kama Worthy under any occasion.
Yeah, maybe like some unders here. Fight doesn't start round 2 is plus 180 on FanDuel. I mean, there's a good chance these guys just swing to the death in round 1.
Yeah.
But that's gonna do it for this fight. We're gonna move on next fight. Middleweight division. Laureano Starapoli as the minus 225 favorite. Jamie Pickett plus 190.
Cool.
Amazing these two guys are still in the UFC, but here we are.
Ah, man, this fight, man. I mean,
Y
this fight got
Go ahead.
canceled before, right? Uh, it was like supposed to be like 2 weeks ago. Pickett got like COVID or something like that. So, I mean, Pickett, I mean, he got finished by Ninja super easily. Hollywood Ninja, shout out, like that kid's gonna be a superstar. Shame that
We
Julian
got robbed
Marquez.
last week, yeah.
We got robbed last weekend, man. These shows are getting watered down because if I can't see Ninja when they tell me there's Ninja, it's a fucking problem.
Yeah, he
Um,
woulda kneed his fucking head across
it's
the
a
arena too.
problem, dude. It's a problem. So this week though, they're putting Starapoli on here with Pickett. I mean, Pickett, he just doesn't do anything, man. He's just not. Like, what is Pickett like? He's just super enthusiastic and stuff, but like after Starapoli's last fight, where I told people, I'm like, man, come on, Starapoli fighting at 185. He's gonna get grappled. It's gonna be easy for like a guy like Roman, and it was super easy. He was just hugging him to death, and Starapoli literally couldn't get away. It was crazy. So I mean, you just how can you bet him as minus 240? That's nuts. So, I mean, I guess you could play Pickett here, but fight, any win here, you're gonna be like, oh my god, like how did I win this fight? Like it was like it's not a fight that he could probably win very clearly. And he could be beat up at any time because if once he starts getting tired, if he starts Sarapoli starts hitting him a bunch, he could get finished at any time here. So big pass on this fight, man. But if you bet Starapoli, what like I don't know how you win. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know how
I
you do
think
it.
you echoed
I
pretty
don't know how
much
you do it.
all my thoughts here,
I
but
don't know how you
like
do it.
I think you can justify a small bet on Pickett here just because I mean this guy's has 0 wins at 185 Starapoli. He's just like an average, maybe slightly above average striker. Um and I don't think his power is going to really translate too well to this 185 weight class. I know Pickett got finished real quickly by um, right, but he actually took a complete beating from Tafon. Tafon also not the biggest hitter, but I mean, he Pickett I think is somewhat durable. So I mean, I think he can be in this the entire time. He can bite the mouthpiece. If you watch his Contender Series fight against Jonathan Potty, he gets outstruck in that fight and then just realizes he's losing and just decides to come forward, string together a combination, and he gets Potty out of there. So I think
Pati,
something similar could happen here. Starapoli is not an offensive wrestler. I think it's just going to be a competitive striking fight. And Pickett, I give a power edge, I give a size edge,
you
and
gonna
I
do
think
it?
that you can justify a half
You
unit
gonna
bet,
do it?
half
You gonna
unit
do
two
it?
plus 200. Yeah,
You gonna
let's
do
do it.
it?
Let's do it.
No, I'm not doing it. No way.
Value is value.
No way. Good
You
luck.
said you can't cap in minus 240 here, so that means there's
You're right.
value
You're
on the
right,
other
but
side.
I can't do it, dude. I can't do it. I don't know if that's an investable
What's
asset.
Pickett no scorecards? Because like that could be interesting too. Um,
No thanks.
plus 180, plus
Good
180, bro.
luck. Good luck. Do it. I'm
Um,
not doing that shit, dude.
we're gonna move on to another short notice late replacement fight. And really bummed we didn't get to see the rematch of Mason Jones and Alan Patrick. You know,
Oh boy.
but we got Mason Jones minus 400 here, and David Onama making his UFC debut plus 300. And you want to start this? No, it's my turn to start one. All right, so Mason
Perdón.
Jones is definitely more proven, the better fighter in all aspects than Onama. But this Onama guy is definitely athletic. He does have some power in his hands. He doesn't seem glaringly awful at any one particular area. I mean, I don't think his defensive grappling looked very good. And he really hasn't fought a striker that has been on his level at all. So, um, I think that Onama could win some UFC fights just because the guy's athletic and powerful, but this isn't one of them. I mean, Jones is extremely durable. He's well rounded. He can outstrike you on the feet, put up a high pace, and take you down to the floor if he needs to as well. So I think Jones should win and probably cover his price here. I could see Onama having like a big moment early where maybe he lands one big punch, but outside of a knockout in the first round, I don't see Onama having much success here. And there's a good chance Mason even finishes in rounds 2 or 3 with Onama coming in on short notice. And Jones is just a motherfucker, man. He builds as the fight goes. He puts damage on you, and very fun fighter to watch. So what are your thoughts here?
Yes, I looked at Onama, was not on my radar at all. I guess there's some guys that, maybe have brushed on him as a UFC prospect, but apparently trains, I think, with Kraus, I guess, right? He's at Glory MMA. Looking at some of his fights, I mean, I think this should be a fight that could be competitive, in some areas because Mason Jones, like, he is in there often with guys, you know what I mean? Like he's going back and forth with them. So that could definitely happen here. Onama though, like I don't know how if he's gonna be able to initiate offense as on the front foot as he wants it, and he's not really used to that. So in like a fight that I think how it's gonna break out, I think you gotta favor Jones, pretty significantly. And his last few fights, I think he's shown, pretty well in the UFC. So I think this should be a fight that yeah, that he looks good in. But, I don't really know what to think of Onama as a prospect overall. Like, I don't know if this is a guy who could stick around in the UFC,
Interesting that we have
but he could.
Onama, and then we also have Obama on this card, who is fighting next. But I realized that we actually skipped a fight. Let's go back to that one. We can't miss this one of the best fights in the
Which
card.
one?
Women's strawweight division. We got Tabitha Ricci minus
Uh-oh.
260, Maria Oliveira plus 220. I'll start this one off because I sent out a tweet about this, but like this Oliveira woman is so bad, so inconceivably bad at MMA. And I think that her getting signed to the UFC just proves that the UFC, Sean Shelby, McMahon, don't watch any tape whatsoever. They see, oh, this woman's coming off a win, let's get her in here. And they just have no standards. They basically will accept any, taxi driver, soccer mom, whatever. And that's what Oliveira is. I mean, most of her wins are over opponents with 0-0
Yeesh.
records. And the woman's just an extremely robotic and static striker. She got taken down and dominated on the map by Asakura back in Ryzen. And I think Reese is going to be competitive on the feet. I think that she's going to probably rush her way into the clinch, get a takedown, and probably just dominate from top position. I don't think Reese is anything great, but I think that she has shown an ability to hit takedowns and to keep top position. And she also throws ground and pound. She looks for submissions. She can submit you with, arm bars, all types of crazy stuff. And I just think Oliveira is incredibly weak and noodly, and she's going to get taken down and finished on the ground here. So I like Reese to cover her price and to win inside the distance. So Reese inside the distance plus money. I think that one takedown could be the fight and get a finish here. So did you look into this fight at all?
Yeah, I know Ricci, pretty well. In this fight here, I'd agree. I think that she should be able to get her grappling going. She has a decent, pretty solid jiu-jitsu background, and I think you saw in that Fierro fight that she's not afraid to strike in the pocket. She's not really like shying away from punches all that much. She has some experience there, so I think she should be able to be fine if he take Silva down. What is yeah? The Oliveira, excuse me, Oliveira down, and get her submission game going, and her cardio should be solid as well.
Nice, nice. Good amount of time spent on that fight. We're going to move on to the Obama fight in the middleweight division. Two amazing fighters. Love these guys a lot. Gregory Rodriguez, minus 127. Wow, he got steamed in the past 24 hours. Jun Young Park, plus 107. Um, if you're looking to bet Gregory Rodriguez, now's the time. Minus 110, minus 108. Some stale lines out there, but very fun matchup. You start this one off, Ozzy. Good
Yeah,
weird
so you
matchup.
got Iron Turtle here, coming in. Park. Last few fights, he's shown. I don't know. He's had a few UFC fights where he's had, fought some decent competition, won easily on a number of occasions. And coming here against Rodriguez though, it's a fight where Rodriguez probably is a higher level, future guy. Like he could get higher up on the ladder, in terms of potentially getting into the top 15, whatever, advancing here. And this is definitely a solid test for him. But I think that this guy's got the correct background. He's a pretty strong grappler. He hasn't had to show it that often, but I think here against Park, he's gonna have the more varied attack on the feet, be able to defend the grappling of Park and the grappling attempts, and then potentially go on the offense like you saw. Aaron Hernandez, yeah, Fluffy, Fluffy Hernandez take advantage of in their
Anthony,
fight.
not the
Anthony
murderer, not the
Fluffy.
murderer.
Yeah, but Fluffy Hernandez take advantage of in their fight, and he was able to end up finding the finish there. I think he had a pretty close fight with uh, Beirut. And I think this fight bodes. It's going to be more of a guy where Rodriguez is going to be coming forward, implementing his game, and it's going to be. I don't really like Park on the defense as much, as opposed to like when he's able to back a guy up, like Tafan, solid win, but he was much quicker than Tafan there, and he was able to mix it up easily on him. Rodriguez is way more experienced, and I don't think that matchup, that style, bodes well for him here. So I favor Rodriguez in this matchup here against Park, but I
Yeah,
think probably by decision, But
yeah, I'm sure you like the over here as well then,
yeah.
because Park not really much of a damaging fighter. Um, he does land a good amount of strikes, can land some ground and pound. He's just not too powerful and not much of a finisher. So if anyone's finishing this fight, I lean towards it being Rodriguez. And this is a really good matchup. I think me and Ozzy both cashed in these guys as underdogs in their last fights, but um, I think that the striking here is going to be competitive. But I see a clear difference. And Park is mostly boxing. He mixes in the occasional leg kick, but I think that Rod is the more versatile striker. I think he mixes in his kicks a little bit better, better Muay Thai base, while Park is mostly coming from that boxing base. And Park has looked pretty dominant in his past 3 fights, but I think a lot of that had to do with him getting takedowns and being able to top game his opponents, but I think Rodriguez has better takedown defense, has a better defensive grappling base than the past few opponents, and Rodriguez also has his own offensive takedown arsenal. We've seen him out-grapple some opponents before he got into the UFC and even hit some brief takedowns on Dushko Todorovic. I mean, he had a clean double leg out of nowhere in that fight, so Rodriguez steadily improving guy, training at Sanford MMA, which I believe is the best gym in the world for middleweights. I mean, they have an insane roster of middleweights. Brendan Allen, Derek Brunson, the list goes on. And I just lean towards Rodriguez in this fight as well. I trust his takedown defense, and I trust him a little bit more on the feet. Although these exchanges are going to be close. I think when the fight is standing, they're going to be marginal rounds. But I'm going to be siding towards Rodriguez, so I think it's a little more clean in the boxing. He's got more power too as well. Park just doesn't really sit down on his punches the same way Rodriguez does. So this is going to be a great fight. I lean this one going over in the decision, and I'll be signed with Rodriguez as well. So even money, if you can pick up some stale lines of that, I think that's the play, and that's going to do it for the prelims. We got done 8 fights. We got 6 more to go in this big 14 fight card, and let's get right into it on the main card. So first fight, light heavyweight division, we have Nicolau Negumereanu minus 220, Ike Villanueva plus 185. Um, you want to start this one off again, Ozzy?
Yeah, so I mean, Ike here, he's plus 200. I mean, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Ike is plus 200. Last fight he was like the same price against Prakniao. Prakniao has a lot more tools and a lot more, a wider background on the feet that was able to give Ike some issues there. He could fight on the back foot. He used a bunch of kicks, to the legs and to the body, and he ended up, finishing him with that body kick, but he was punching to the body as well. Nick here, I don't think that fight against K-Moore was that impressive. I think people give him a little bit too much credit for it. He was super tough in that fight, but he was getting landed on, so often. I think the only reason you would want to back him here as a favorite of this magnitude is because you think he's going to be able to get takedowns that I guess he has shown somewhat in the past. But Ike here, I think he hits harder than Kamer, so he could potentially finish this. And I think he slowed down a little bit in that first round in that fight, but he was just because he was getting hit to the body. I felt so. I think these guys are way closer. Match like level wise on this line. So maybe I'd be, try something on Ike, but it looks like I don't know. His line is stale, stagnant. I should say. So I don't know which way it's gonna go here, but there's no way I could bet Nick here at minus 200. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and definitely not a guy that you can really think about laying that chalk on. I mean,
Yeah, this guy's so easy to hit, man.
he
Like,
was
come
just
on.
plus 225 in his last fight. I mean, I cashed on him as a dog there, but that fight was closer than I remembered going back on it. But Villanueva, one big red flag about him is that he hasn't fought past 6 minutes in 4 years. We saw him get finished in his last fight right around the 6 minute mark. So you really have no idea how the guy's cardio is going to look, but I can't imagine it looking good. I mean, the guy is a swollen up middleweight, and I just don't think his cardio is going to be that good in the later rounds. And Nergamano came off a long layoff, had a pretty high action fight, and still had good gas, winning round three unanimously on all three judges' scorecards versus Camera. So you got to favor Nergamano the longer the fight goes, but I think Villanueva is going to make the striking exchanges very close early on. He's probably a little bit more clean of a boxer, as you mentioned, but Nergamano is durable. He comes forward, he throws good punches of his own, and he also can mix in some takedowns. We saw him get one takedown on camera. We saw him get some takedowns in his regional footage against some lower level opponents. And Villanueva is not a good defensive grappler, and I think that Nergamano could get some top time here, could get some cage pushing time, and I do expect Nergamano to pull away in rounds 2 and 3, maybe even finding a late finish. So maybe look at those round 2, 3 props for Nergamano, but definitely no way you could bet the money line. I think Villanueva is going to make it close in round one. And you're probably going to get a better live price on Nergamano. So the value side is Villanueva here, but I don't have much faith in him, and I'll be picking Nergamano to finish in the later rounds, probably a TKO on the mat in round 2 or 3. So that's going to take us to the next fight. The best Grant on the card. We have Dwight Grant as actually he's the underdog. We're going to start with Francisco Trinaldo minus 140, Dwight Grant plus 120. I'll start this one off, and I like the old man Trinaldo here. I mean, I'll probably just bet on Trinaldo for every single one of his fights until he retires, just because the guy is a legend in MMA. Had that incredible comeback versus Jai Herbert last year. Was probably one of the coolest moments of all of the UFC last year with that crazy round three knockout. And this is a good matchup for him. I mean, Dwight Grant just stinks, man. We got robbed on Stefan Sekulic last, a couple months back in April. Rewatching that fight, I definitely think Sekulic won the first and third round, and I just think we saw a lot of susceptibilities that translate well to this Trinaldo matchup. First off, Sekulic is a southpaw. Dwight doesn't really seem to do too well against southpaws, and this is his fifth southpaw in a row that he's fighting, and it seems like he's not really learning much about how to actually match up with them. Um, and then Grant just not a very defensively sound guy. We saw him get cracked with a punch versus Sekulic in round three. We saw him get dropped versus D-Rod. I think he's kind of a chinny guy, and he also just doesn't have good takedown defense. Got taken down by Sekulic and has been taken down several times throughout his career. So I think Trinaldo could honestly have a striking and grappling advantage here. He's a crafty striker on the feet, very good southpaw striker. I think he's going to figure Grant out. The volume is a concern. Both of these guys are low volume strikers, but um, I think Trinaldo is going to do well against a fellow low volume striker, especially when he has the option to take the fight to the floor and to get some takedowns as well. So I know Trinaldo's up at a new weight class. I know he is 42, 43 years old, but I think he's still look competent and skilled versus Salikov, who's a much, much better opponent than Grant. So I'm still willing to trust Trinaldo. I got
Yeah.
some money line minus 120, and I'll pass him over to you.
Yeah. Yeah, so Trinaldo in his last fight, I thought that was a pretty solid performance by him overall. He got hit a bunch of times pretty solidly by Salikov, but Salikov is a pretty deadly striker. They don't call that guy the Kung Fu God or the Monkey God or whatever his name is for no reason. That guy's insane. I mean, when you think about like mixed martial artists that are strikers and stand up guys, like this guy is a very very high level. Grant, on the other hand, I mean, he's good too. I think he's got a few fights here in the UFC. He's fought some decent competition. But this he's not really he has power for sure. But you see, he'll like slow down too. Like his gas tank quickly drained when he was going after D Rod there, and that's why he got knocked out mostly. It wasn't because like you probably shouldn't have gotten caught there. That it was too early in the fight. I feel for you to get caught like that. And it was just because his gas tank quickly dissolved. So I think, well, I like Trinaldo here, obviously, but I think that's kind of why maybe the line here, in terms of the goes the distance is okay, not bad, because they think that Trinaldo's cardio could definitely win out and he could get a finish here. So, if someone here is liking Trinaldo and that some finish props, I see that. Me myself, I kind of think I see this going over more. But I think a Trinaldo finish here is live, so I'm looking at Trinaldo by submission here as a prop, that I think, could be, something that definitely could happen here if Trinaldo is able to, and Trinaldo late also. I think that would be correlated. So if you had a Trinaldo submission, you take some Trinaldo maybe round three, where Dwight Grant is tiring out and Trinaldo is maybe getting on top, but a very long shot play. So it shouldn't be a big play, but I like Trinaldo here, but probably by decision
Yep, sounds like
in
we're
a
in
in a
agreement.
lower volume striking fight.
Hopefully the old Brazilian can pull off another win. One of my favorite fighters, honestly, of all time. So hopefully he can. That's gonna move us on to the next fight in the featherweight division. We have Soo Choi minus 290 taking on Alex Caceres plus 245. I gotta admit, I love Soo Choi in his recent role in the Squid Game on Netflix.
Oh,
He's right back in the
Jesus
right back in
Christ.
the UFC here.
God
Um,
almighty.
and then there was a character named Sung Woo in that fight in that show. So, what are you gonna? Whose turn is it to start? I think it's yours. You go ahead on this one.
I mean, I don't got too much on this fight, I'll be honest. I think Bruce Leroy, I think this is like I counted up like 24th or 25th fight in the UFC now. So this guy's got crazy amount of experience, is on a solid win streak here. But I think the thing with Choi is he's so rangy. He's such a strong striker overall. With solid power as well. And I could see him just being able to keep. I mean, Caceres, I think he's going to be coming after Caceres, and Caceres is just pretty crafty, to maybe not get finished here. But I just can't. I don't have a very very strong take on this fight because I don't know if Caceres has enough. Physical ability to and take and grappling ability to get Choi down, and how is he going to win the fight? I just can't project it out as very well to take a side, very with much conviction. So I think Choi probably wins a decision that these guys are clinching up and clinching in. And Caceres needs like a more high variance fight where there's some grappling and stuff like that to win.
I'm definitely down to take some Alex Caceres here. Just a half unit better or something. I mean, I just think this line is a little too wide. I mean, I'd say it's actually way too wide. I mean, minus 290 for Choi. I mean, I think he's really going to need a fight with very, very minimal grappling to justify that price tag. I mean, Caceres is a pretty durable guy. I don't remember, has he ever been knocked out in the UFC? Francisco Rivera knocked him out in 20 seconds, like way, way back in the day, 6 years ago. But the guy's on a sneaky four-fight win streak, not over the greatest competition, but still four-fight win streak coming in at plus 250 when he should have a grappling advantage. For sure, has an experience advantage. I mean, you said it earlier this week. I mean, the guy's had what 23 fights in the UFC. He's a sneaky veteran, probably one of the most experienced guys at these lower weight classes, and what I saw from Choi in the Tucker fight, in the Evlev fight, I know those guys are a lot better grapplers than Caceres is, but I just think that Choi can, let opponents get behind him, let him get that back clinch, let him grind him against the cage. I mean, a lot of that Evlev fight took place against the cage in that like that backpack position where the guy's not really getting a back take. He kind of just rides you against the fence. And Caceres is really crafty at getting those positions. He's got good back takes. And I think Caceres can make the fight scrappy. I mean, you definitely got to favor Choi on the feet, but he's coming off that knockout over Erosa. I feel like he could be getting a little bit overrated based on that fight. And what I saw in the Zalal fight as well, Zalal is kind of a weak fighter, not the best grappler. And Choi's takedown defense did look a lot improved in that fight. He stuffed pretty much all of Zalal's shots, but I still thought Zalal was able to get him against the fence for several minutes in that fight. And if Caceres can do that as well, I don't think Choi is justifying minus 300 here. So I'm down to take a little bit of a stab on Caceres, and I like Caceres' points handicap here as well. That's going to take us to the next fight in the women's bantamweight division, where we have Jessica Rose Clark minus 148, Jocelyn Edwards plus 128. Um, I'll start this one off because I got a bet on JRC here. 2 units minus 129. I mean, I was looking at this line a few weeks back, and I thought that Edwards could be worth a play at minus 170 or minus 185, whatever it was at. And I was shocked to see all the Edwards money come in. Not sure why people are betting Edwards because I just think the woman's pretty terrible. Um, I think her striking is average at best. But Jessica Rose Clark, I think, is the better striker. She's been training at the CSA gym with Kieran something. I forget the guy's name. He's a good striking coach though, and you can watch the footage of her striking. I mean, this woman is she has really good understanding of striking fundamentals, and Edwards doesn't. She's just a winging wild striker. And then that's not even Edwards' worst aspect. Her grappling is by far her weakest aspect of her game. I mean, this woman can be easily taken down, stays in guard for long, long periods of time, got out grappled by Sarah Alpar. Even Wu Yanan was taking her down and putting her in some bad spots. And, that fight versus Wu Yanan was extremely close. And without like a reversal at the end of round one there, I mean, Edwards could have potentially lost that fight to Wu Yanan. So, I think Rose Clark should be able to outstrike her and out-grapple here. I like what I saw from Rose Clark in her last fight against Alpar. Her output build as that fight went. And the only really concern over Rose Clark, it has to be she's coming off a knee surgery. But she took a long time to rehab that, documented her whole recovery on her Instagram. It's been 9 or more months, and I think she's taken plenty of time off. And I think she's going to be healthy and, probably at her all time best here against Edwards. So I think she's probably going to dominate to even possibly get another late finish. But I'll pick JRC by 30-27.
Um, yeah, I mean, I looked at this fight and, I could see, I could see why people like Edwards, not Edwards, Clark
Rose
here. Yeah, Rose Clark here. I think the line now is justified, but the thing is, like, any fight here that she wins, I think is predicated on like her decision making and stuff. Because if they do end up grappling, Edwards just like you said, she's like so wild and stuff that Rose Clark, when she's on the ground, sometimes you don't know, or you just don't know what her decision making is on the ground. And I think if this fight is in the grappling, I could see Edwards like cashing her, like just them rolling around and stuff. So I think that Rose Clark is a deserved favorite, but I'm not as bullish as people are on her here. I can see why people are, but I think don't get overzealous, especially at this price here, minus 160. I think a lot of the value is definitely drained out. But I think it'll probably end up continuing to go up.
Yeah, a little bit. I guess I could be overconfident in JRC, but I really do think she covers minus 200 and then some here. So,
I wouldn't.
um,
I wouldn't be at. I mean, I guess I try to look for like another line of value here though. Like maybe try to don't go too big on the money line. Like and try to find a prop that you feel solid about to maybe get a better payout than investing at minus 160.
holy shit. Clark no scorecards minus 135. Has Edwards ever finished someone? I mean, the woman is so
Not sure.
noodly and weak. She has a few finishes in the regionals, but I don't.
Like try to mix it up and find something like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that no scorecard. All right, so fight you're probably looking forward to the most on your card. You got your boy Grant Dawson, co-main event spot,
Oof.
minus 450, taking on Rick Glenn plus 350. Both these guys, former featherweights, moving up to 155 pretty recently, and they both won their first fight at lightweight last fight. So, how you think they match up? How do you think your boy Grant Dawson's going to do here?
I mean, I've been saying it, amongst the people I, talk to, right? Like you guys, whatever. I don't know how much I've posted it like on Twitter and stuff, but Grant Dawson, he's always been, super, super high level. He's, I think, one of the best grapplers. I think he was saying it earlier. He's like, hey, I'm the best MMA wrestler at 155. He's fought really solid competition. This guy's 17-1 with 15 finishes. He's just an extremely strong grappler when he gets his hands on you. On the feet, he's able to maintain range and then be able to get inside to use that grappling. And Rick Glenn, he came back nicely in that last fight against Silva. He hurt him with punches, got some good angles on some of those shots to be able to get him inside. But it's just too easy for a guy to close the distance on him, and then be able to implement their game. And Grant Dawson, there are a few guys that are like him that are able to get the fight into the clinch onto the ground and then start progressing the position. And then once he is progressing the position, he's just like you can't get out from under this guy, and he'll land ground and pound. He'll go for submissions, and that's why you've seen that price swell out so much. And I think this guy's the real deal, man. I think this guy has top 15, top 10. Being able to be in those ranks and be a very difficult fight for many guys on any given day. And it's just what fights does he get to advance up the ladder? So I think he gets Rick Glenn down and probably to finish later on. But Rick Glenn's never been knocked out or anything like that. I think so. I think his finish. He's only lost by like decision to finish and submission. So I think that's probably the most likely path if Grant is going to get a finish. But we'll see. Rick Glenn's proven to be historically tough, good cardio. So I don't count him out. But the price is moving this way for a reason.
So you are leaning Dawson finish over a decision, you think?
I would say so. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's really the biggest question of this fight is Dawson going to finish or is he going to win by decision? Last time Glenn was finished was Lance Palmer rear naked choke back in 2014. So the guy's been kind of inactive again since then though, and fighting guys who aren't really known for finishers. Evan Dunham, Miles Jury, Dennis Bermudez, Kevin Aguilar. Um, but I'm a little more skeptical of Dawson, but I don't think it's really worth bringing up at this point because I don't think any of those concerns are going to come into play here. Just because I don't think Glenn is going to pose much of a problem. I think Glenn could have moments of success when the fight is at range here at distance. He's got that long southpaw, good body kicks. Decent hands as well. And I do think that Dawson's striking is a bit underdeveloped, but I don't think Dawson's going to give him any space. I think Dawson's constantly going to be trying to get this fight to the floor. It's going to be a lot of cage pushing time. Dawson's probably going to grind him against the cage, take him down, and probably do some good work from top, possibly finding a finish, like Ozzy said, in rounds 2 or 3. And I probably do lean around 3 finish, but it's going to be close here because Glenn is not a great defensive wrestler. He fought Dennis Bermudez, got taken down several times in that fight, but he knows how to get up from takedowns. He knows how to stay safe. But obviously, Grant Dawson, a completely different animal than Bermudez with this top game. So um, I could see Dawson, just being too strong and physical for Glenn. Glenn's never really faced a legit 155 or in like an extended fight. He knocked out Silva in 30 seconds. That doesn't really count. So I think that Dawson's probably going to be, too much for Glenn here and smother him in his way to either a grappling decision or a round 3 finish. So I would like to see Dawson show some improvements in his stand up in this fight, though. Or maybe if he finished the fight in rounds 1 or 2, that would impress me. So hopefully Dawson puts a stamp on this win, and hopefully we get to see him match up against Carlos Diego Ferreira like was originally intended. That's gonna take us to the main event. Ozzy flying through this shit, bro. Main event, 195-pound catchweight fight. A lot of controversy, drama going on with this fight this week. Marvin Vettori sitting at minus 174 now. Vettori or Costa coming back plus 149. I mean, crazy to think what this line has done. This fight was supposed to happen, what, 6, 7 months ago? And it was, Vettori minus 150, minus 160. And then all of a sudden, this fight got rebooked, and the line was almost even for a while there. Which is really strange because Costa hadn't done anything since the fight was originally booked, and I think Marvin won 2 5-round fights, right? Maybe only one 5-round fight against Holland. So you see that
He won
market
the he won
even
the Hermanson fight as well.
Yeah, but I think that Costa was supposed to happen in the beginning of the year, if I'm not correct. Like, maybe, like, March
Okay.
or something.
Mm.
I think April is when it was supposed to happen.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah, it was because then Holland filled in for him, right? Holland filled in for Costa, and then, Vettori put together, I know what happened, obviously, the Adesanya fight, just,
Oh, yeah.
Vettori looked bad against Israel, and then
Well, we've seen
overreacted.
Vettori basically, I mean, the thing was we saw Vettori 3 times in, 6 months over t you got 15 rounds of the guy. You got or no, you got 25 you got, 75 minutes of the guy, because he fought Hermanson in December. He fought in April, then he fought in June. So you got a lot of, just Marvin screen time there. So, coming
That's a
in
good
here, what I'm saying? Like he didn't really have a lot of time to improve. Like look at his last 4 fights. That after that Andrew Sanchez fight, they all took place in 1 year. Um,
he's
so
active.
he's super active, yeah. And Costa is the opposite. Like he fights like once a year, once every 2 years before. He had like the USADA stuff before. And I mean all this hoopla this week, I think, I don't think it's a coincidence, all this stuff that's happening. And then like number of years or not months ago, you saw him like doing stuff with like Jake and Logan Paul or something. So like I don't like Costa is always, doing these weird things. I don't know, like the wine before the last fight. He's, messing around with Jake and Logan Paul. Now he's got this, nonsense going around him. So like I
He's just a
think
nut job,
he's just a
essentially.
crazy dude. Like I don't think this is like as much of an act as like people think it is. Like this guy's just nuts, man.
Yeah,
Like he
delusional.
he he just doing not even that he's nuts. He's just doing a bunch of different things. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know like him coming into this fight, like is this guy like a real fighter? Like yeah, man, like this guy will throw down. So the thing though is that Vittori, I think is solid enough that he should be able to extend the fight and maybe get this into grappling. Where I think Vittori is a way more developed grappler, and I'm not really sure like what Costa's ground game actually looks like. And if Vittori is able to get this into like extended grappling situations, I think he could actually finish Costa. But Costa's a freaking hammer on the feet if he's coming out like he was against Romero and Uriah Hall, but I can't be real confident in him. I know people are like, hey, like I kind of want to bet Costa if he keeps like the line keeps going in Marvin's direction, but I don't like I don't know what this guy's doing, and he hasn't really proven a lot in terms of if a guy actually knows jujitsu like Marvin does. Marvin trains with some super solid dudes out in California and is able to get these takedowns. He should be able to potentially get some good positions when they do get to the floor.
Yeah, I mean, this fight does seem like a bit of a gamble if you're betting Costa here. I mean, you're kind of questioning whether which Costa is going to show up. The Costa who looked at his all-time best versus Yoel Romero, or the Costa who showed up completely gun shy against Israel Adesanya, and has kind of gone off the rails since that fight, just doing a lot of weird shit over the past year or two, like you said. Vittori's, a crazy motherfucker too, completely in denial about the Adesanya losses. But I mean, this guy is much more consistent. Like you said, he's active. You know Vittori's gonna show up in shape. The guy has 5 rounds of cardio. He's got striking output for days. He's extremely durable, and he also can wrestle and keep top position very well. I mean, Vittori is extremely well rounded. I don't think he does, any one aspect of MMA, striking or grappling, like elite, but he just mixes everything well. He has good attributes, and that makes him an extremely tough guy to beat. And early on in the week, I was having a little bit more faith in Costa, but I mean, so many red flags from him this week. I think, like I said, it's really just a gamble on whether he's going to show up looking like his best self or looking like his most recent self against Israel. Um, like you said, he is kind of unproven in terms of jiu-jitsu. How is he going to look off of his back? We have seen him briefly taken down a few times throughout his UFC career, but haven't really seen him spend more than like 20 or 30 seconds in grappling positions. Haven't seen him on his back for long periods of time. But we do know that the guy is, incredibly athletic. He can bounce back up from some takedowns with that pure athleticism and just explosion. So I think Vettori isn't going to have much success grappling in rounds 1 or 2 here. Rounds 3, 4, and 5 is really when you're going to see Vettori's grappling cardio advantage come into play. Because I don't think Costa has ever won a round 3. I don't think he's won a fight in round 3. We only have really seen him look really good in rounds 1 and 2. So I think in terms of pre-fight value, I think all the value from Vettori is probably evaporated at this point. I mean, people have steamed this line so hard the past week, especially after hearing the news about the weight. Um, but it could be some crazy manipulative mind game by Costa. He could be in good shape. He could show up looking like he did versus the Romero fight. I honestly hope he does, because that Costa was such a fun fighter to watch. And I think that it would be a great matchup against Vettori. If the Costa from that Romero fight shows up, I think he really does give Vettori problems on the feet with his boxing, his body kicks, the way he digs to the body with his punches and kicks. I think we could see Costa win rounds, but like I said, it's a complete gamble on whether he's going to show up looking like that or not. So I can't really put much faith in Costa, and probably wouldn't advise betting him either. I'd say probably Costa knockout around 1, 2, 3 is the only way he's going to win the fight, because if it goes into 4-5, you gotta heavily favor the 5 round experience, the cardio, the grappling of Marvin Vettori. So I think I'll probably pick Vettori, 4-5 decision as the official pick. Although I would kind of like to see Costa pull off the upset. But that's gonna do it for the card, Ozzy. Guess how long we recorded for?
A little more than an hour.
Bro, like an hour and 1 minute or something. We flew through
Perfect.
this shit. 14 fights in an
Perfect.
hour. With the recap, it was less than an hour, all 14 fights. So we had a good pace this one. I thought this one worked out pretty well. Cut down on some time on some less important matchups. But for a card without much star power, got a lot of criticisms. I think this card is actually kind of fun. There are some decent matchups, and I like a lot of betting spots. I have, I think already like 6 units tracked in this card, which is, pretty a lot for me early on in the week. So, make sure you check out our Bet MMAs to see any more plays. And that's going to do it this week. Ozzy, any closing thoughts? Any closing thoughts on
Um,
Bellator, maybe?
I mean, for Bellator, it's like a all Russia card. I didn't really look at it all that much. I'm sure someone will be able to put together a pretty nice parlay with some of these favorites. Like, there's definitely probably value on those, but I'm not doing anything on that. But yeah, I think there's a few pretty strong spots in this fight card coming up. But like you said, it's like a roller coaster kind of card of like fights that you would actually be interested in watching, I would say. So, get in. I don't think you could always have some live bet spots, but I think, money lines here, there's definitely some value up and down this board here. And I think I'll have a decent amount of plays over, like, just sprinkled across. And I think I'm gonna try some props. Um this card, because I think there are some decent ones on here. But let's see.
Nice, nice. And then we got PFL next week too. You want to share any brief thoughts on that?
Maybe we'll get to that next week. We'll get to that next.
Well, we're not gonna
When
be
is
able
it?
to. It's
What
it's
date?
next
What day?
it's next Thursday, I think. I might. Yeah. So
Let's record on Wednesday. Because it is PFL finals. I think we should let's move the recording up one day. Record on Wednesday, and put out an episode before Thursday.
all right. Yeah. We'll maybe on that. Maybe on that.
Why not? Why not? Come on.
We'll see.
Or
All right.
or 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 we could record early on Thursday. See, put this guy in a spot. And if you guys want to hear some PFL for next week, where there'll probably be more fight matchups, uh,
I
or
mean,
you could or you could
we can
go into
summarize.
or you could go into it right now. But I'm not giving nothing out right now.
Just put all your money on against Clarissa Shields. That's all I gotta say.
I don't
But,
think that fight's happening. So
well, plus 360. Take that shit.
I
All right.
heard
That's
I heard I heard that fight's canceled. I heard she's like taking some time away with her. I think I read that.
wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. All
You
right, that's
sure?
gonna do it for the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed the card. 14 fights going down this Saturday from the Apex, and next week we'll be back with the Fight Island pay per view UFC 267. So hope you all enjoyed the podcast. Thank you all for listening, and hope you all win some bets this weekend. Peace out.